And good afternoon to local chamber influencers. This is our weekly training, and today we are absolutely fortunate to have on Rupert Samuel. Rupert is from England and has a tremendous uh, experience in the areas of bots as well as just organizing programs in a way that make it easy to use and also to encourage the client use of the tool due to the fact that it has so many uses. Today, and I really appreciate him being on, especially because this week is a very, very busy week for Rupert. He's doing some moving. He's opening up a new warehouse and getting some of his major work ready for the onslaught that's going to happen on this program. The program is the A1 Card Club program, which some of you have seen some of, I'm sure, along the way. But you have not seen what he's going to show today. It's going to be extra special. And yes, along the way, there will be room for questions. If you would like to maybe raise your hand if you'd like in the process, or just wait till we get to that point, and you guys can ask all the questions you want. I'm sure Rupert will not mind. So at this point, I'm going to get the, let's see, make the right button here. Hang on a second. All right, at this point, Rupert Samuel, the stage is all yours.
Fantastic. Hi, everybody. See if I can share my screen here, first of all. Just see if I've got this. Yep, there we go. There we go. Right. So, for those who don't know, we've been building, me and my friend Christian have been building the A1 Club software. Now, the A1 Club software, to put it into something a bit more simple to understand, is a software where you can manipulate physical items such as cards, posters, table talkers, wristbands, all sorts of different items into allowing your consumers to opt in to digital campaigns as a B2C concept. Another concept is a bit of a B2B version, which is where you could have, again, physical items. I would say cards would be the best use case to talk about. And you could utilize a card for transferring of information from yourself to them onto their phone. But essentially, it's the same thing in the way that you're going to get that potential person, consumer, business lead, however you want to refer to it, to opt into your digital campaign to learn more about you, or to take on an offer, or to give a testimonial, or to give a review. Now, one of the missing links inside of this kind of technology, which has been around for a bit, okay, is that it hasn't been able to interconnect into communication channels such as messenger bots. And today I'm going to be showing you a basic example on how you can utilize these cards as a use case as with a chatbot. So one of the nice things you're going to learn about this is that this card can hold a link, and it can hold a contact details, and contact details, when you put it onto a phone, will then save it into your contacts. You could also have a phone number. You could also, so it activates sending a phone call when you put it onto the back of someone's phone. And just to show you quickly what this looks like, if you can see my camera, you can see that this phone here is on the home screen. I put it onto the back and rub it up and down, and then it is opened up to Facebook, as this is the place that I have located it to go from to, okay? And I'm going to show you how, with a chatbot, you could have a pre-selected amount of different websites as an action to go to, saved into the chatbot for users to opt in to use, okay? Another version of how this could be utilized with the chatbot is based on your consumers' actions inside of a chatbot. So whether or not they said yes or no, or whether or not they said, yes, I want to opt into this offer, they would then, based off of the yes and no, they could then change the URL or the direction of what's going to happen on the card.
Rupert, if you get stop sharing your screen, they'll be able to see your physical actions better. Okay.
Okay. I'll just quickly go back and show you the rubbing of the card on the back so you can just see the wireless feature of this. Now, if you'd like to learn a little bit more of how that works, okay, then there is a video on the a1.club website, and it's just here, okay? Now, I won't go through that right now, but if you'd like to go into that, you can essentially see the process of everything and anything that this could essentially do for you. But I do want to go in today about showing you how the chatbot integration works, and I would like to obviously take a question. So as I'm going through this, please, jot down on a pen and pad or whatever you've got in front of you. And if you don't have anything, I'll give you a minute or two to grab something. Even if you've got notes on your computer, just so I can answer any questions at the end, because I'm sure that some people's minds will start to go in a few different directions due to the different use cases I keep receiving on how this will work for people. Okay, so I'll try and answer as much as I possibly can. Okay. So as you can see just there as well, that's me putting the card on the back, and it's sending you to different locations. So there you go, takes you to an app, opens up a phone call, opens up the locations, opens up your contacts, okay? These are all the different types of integrations and actions you could do on the back of a card, which would then open up onto a phone. And these are the different types of cards that we have available if you'd like to get in on the lifetime deal of the software with one active card for yourself. Okay, so let's just dive straight into it, right? And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the back end of the A1 business software. So the business software is a little different to the club software. The club is made for lifetime deals, and essentially, so you get lifetime access to the software, and you'll get yourself one card, and with that one card, you can do as many things as essentially you want with it. So it's like a business card. So if you go to a lot of business meetings, you can do what you like, and you don't have to essentially give them the paper. All you need to do is just have this, rub it on the back of their card, onto the back of their phone, and that will then opt them into whatever direction you'd want to, or action you would like to put them into. If you by chance happen to have an old iPhone, like I do here, just for an example, these unfortunately, I just spin around my screen. These unfortunately don't have the capability at the moment with the current iOS software to be able to receive the wireless signal. It is inside of the phones, but we're expecting in the next iOS update or the one afterwards to be able to have this from the iPhone 7 and above. Currently in the iPhone X and above, you do have the wireless interface. But the one great thing, and this is one thing I'd like you to, for a lot of people to really understand here, this is a very key point to why we've gone into depth with this, is that one of the most awful points of a physical offline interaction to a digital campaign at the moment is that you usually find your users will have one of two phones, Androids or iPhones. And if you have an Android phone, these phones natively inside of their camera don't have the capability of scanning a QR code. Okay, so you have to download an app to scan a QR code, and there's quite a lot of percentage of people out there with Android phones. Now, as to iPhones, it is a very simple process, and just to show this in case you've never ever seen it before, I'd like to think that some of you have, but just to show, if you opened up your camera, you put the QR code there, and bang, it's that easy, and it will take us over to Facebook. We'll open up the Facebook app for me. Okay, so the reason of this is that essentially, with the way that technology is going to be moving forward with the wireless NFC interconnection, which is what I showed you before by putting this onto the back of the phone, I expect, over this year and the year following, to this become a lot more natural for consumers and for B2B interactions. Okay, so this is the main reason of why and how this is all going to come a part of it. Okay, so let's just go through the software very quickly. So here is your dashboard. This allows you to see what is going on with what tags and cards are being scanned, and it gives you an overall of what's going on in the entire of your system. Like you can see just here, it says there was an iPhone scanned on this card, which is number CV, and it lets you know that my name and my UID of my ManyChat account. So before it was done on a smartphone, which is my Android phone, and you can see just that it's reporting back to us essentially. Now, with the business software, just because I'm talking about cards at the moment, I would like everyone just to kind of really get this idea in your head. It's not just cards. Cards is just one product out of a lot of different products that this can be applied to. You know, we're talking about beer mats, coasters, window stickers, key rings, pens, wristbands. We're talking a whole range of different items. We're talking about posters. We're talking about table talkers. We're talking about nearly anything, because ultimately, if you wanted to, you can get a sticker about yay big, okay, and you could stick it onto a plant pot if you wanted to. Something as innocent as that, okay? The only thing that I think would be better to do, and it's in one of my little videos on my personal Facebook account if you want to see it, unfortunately I should have got it out of the car as well, but I have a poster that says put your phone here, and I think that's a very powerful action to be able to tell people that if you place your phone on this point here, then you will then opt into something, okay? Now, actions is very simple. It is the action that you want your card to do. So I'm just going to talk about cards at the moment, okay? So you could add more actions just by clicking this button and choosing the type of action that you would like to. Some of them will be coming very soon, some by the end of this week, some by the next week. But at the moment we have URL, contact cards, and phone calls, okay? So a contact card, sorry, is the contacts that go into your phone. It's really, really easy peasy to understand this. So if you click here, you will then be able to add in all of the details that you want, and with about 2 clicks of a button after scanning on the phone, those that contact information will be inserted into your new potential client's phone for them to be able to have all your details, to phone you, to email you, to go to your website, to essentially go to wherever and whatever, okay? And now I am going to be making some templates that will make this feature even better, but I'm just going to move past this because I want to get to the ManyChat integration. Now, tags. I don't want you to tags are essentially the wireless information inside of the card, which is also referred to as NFC, and it is also the QR code which we give with every wireless bit of NFC information as well. So just inside of here, you can see the link that comes with it and the QR code, and you can select a different action that you would like to have towards this, okay? So this is essentially where you could manually select the different actions if you'd want to. You can also bulk select to do different actions, and if you'd like to as well, you can create different folders to be able to hold more tags. Now inside of the business, you're going to be able to add tags at your own will, and I will go into more details on why this is happening, because with the A1 software, you know, in another call and a little bit later as we've refined a little bit of this, you're going to be able to open up your own business alongside with A1 in a kind of white labeled manner. Okay, but I'll talk about that in another call once we've finished off 1 or 2 of the final pieces to make it very slick for you. Now, inside of settings, we have integrations, okay? And, oops, just refresh that a second. Inside of here, we have ManyChat. Now, what I would like you to just quickly understand, okay, before I go into more detail about how the ManyChat integration works, is that there are 2 ways for a consumer or for anybody to opt in to utilize an A1 item such as a card, okay? And these 2 ways is either via a digital ad, like a Facebook ad, or a link on a website, or something digital essentially, and they will go in and they will go through onto a ManyChat flow, and this will then create for that user a tag which will be associated to a physical item, which could be a card, okay? And then from there, it would be the business owner's responsibility to deliver said card to said user. Okay, so that's one way. The other way would be that you could have a bunch of cards, let's just say by a till or in your office, and you could give that card to the user that you would like to have the associated card, and they would just have to scan the QR code, or like I showed you before, rub the card onto the back of the phone, and that will then associate that card to their ManyChat UID or their Facebook account inside of the messenger towards that business. Okay, just for those who aren't chatbot savvy. Okay, so what does this kind of look like when a user is using it is pretty much, I'd like to think, the next kind of questions that you're talking about. And then I'll come to show you how this is all essentially set up. So this is the chatbot flow, okay? And I'm just going to show you what this looks like with my phone just here, okay? So I'm just going to put the keyword in of change card, and on my phone it already has, as we can see, put that in a little. I made this template only 10-15 minutes prior to this phone call. I've been rushing around, as Chris said. We're moving offices for A1 and Walletly to something about 4 times the size of what we're currently doing at the moment, so it's been a bit of a run around today. So at the moment my card has the Facebook website in the back of it. Now if I was to click edit, it's going to ask me what URL should be behind the card, and I'm just going to say www.google.com. Okay, now as you remember, when I scanned this card before, it took me to Facebook. Now if I open up the QR code reader so you can see it nice and clearly on the phone, and if I tap here, it now takes me to google.com. Okay, so you could, inside of the chatbot, just to talk about this a little bit before I go a little bit further, you could give the user the option not to be able to edit the card, to put their own website behind the card, but you could just ask them yes or no, would you like a 20% off coupon, as an example. And if they click yes, that would then edit the card to be able to have the 20% off coupon behind the card as a different kind of retrospective way that you do a B2C or a B2B model of business. Okay, now if we go back to the chatbot flow, okay, and I go back to change my card, I have a quick selection just here. Now if I want to select this site, all done, I have changed it. Unfortunately, I think that I forgot to put the yeah, it's not showing because it's underneath. I need to change that, unfortunately, just on the template. It's a little mistake where you would be able to see what was the option beforehand. So excuse me for that, because otherwise you'd be able to see what it is that you were selecting. Okay, but if I come back here, I have to hope that it wasn't Google that I put behind there before. But if I scan the QR code, unfortunately it was Google. I thought it was off the top of my head. But let's just go back actually to this, and I can click edit. Okay, and if I go to edit, it's going to ask me what would I like my website to be behind this, and I'm going to say, let's go for www.apple.com. Now it's all saved. Now if I come back up here and I say, yes, I want to select that site, which is the quick selection for another site, I could have a whole row of these, including my contacts, phone numbers, geolocations, text message opt-ins, all sorts of things, so that my card could quickly, just by coming to this menu of slide buttons or lists inside of the chatbot, just go bang, 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 and just change it to whatever I'd like it to be. Okay, so it says all done. I've changed your site to apple.com. So again, if I come over here, scan the QR codes, it's easier for me to show you this way. it is unfortunately not taking me there. So that's me earlier today when I have asked it to change the site. So let me just see if there's a quick fix that I did, unfortunately, inside of here. Yes, that's my fault inside of this. I'm going to have to edit that later. So I'm really sorry about this. This is obviously not the best thing, but like I did say earlier, I have been rushing around. But the main concept of what I would like you to really take away from this here is that the actual card can be edited and have a quick selection menu that is going to be able to edit what your card is essentially going to be able to do. Another feature inside of this as well is, let's just imagine that you haven't delivered the card to the user. Now, if they wanted to, and you wanted to have a verification route, the A1 platform, as we go further into it, for more B2C options in the sense of kind of verification for memberships, or verification on, say, a user is meant to receive a particular coupon or something upon these lines, you're not going to be able to check that unless you know, the person who's going to verify that at, say, let's say a restaurant, has got their card to be able to scan the QR code or to utilize the A1 app to rub the card against their phone. So we have a very easy option of where you can access the QR code right away on your phone. So inside of the chatbot, all you'd have to do is type in the keyword, which in this use case I've created it to be show QR. And when I ask it to show me my QR code, it is then going to pop up with that. There we go. For a second then I was thinking, please do what I said. But this is the exact same. You mean you wouldn't be able to see it, unfortunately, on my phone, and it's hard for me to be able to scan this and put it. Actually, no, I'll tell you what I can do. I will screenshot this, and I will go into my messenger, and I will send it to myself, the screenshot. And then if I come over here to the photo that I've sent to myself, as before, when you saw that I changed see if I can scan it on my phone, there it is. It is taking me to Google, which is the exact same thing, which is behind the code of the actual card itself. Okay. Now, you know, you could use this for a lot of different things. I mean, one of the interconnections that I'm going to be working on is going to be Walletly. Let's take that away. You can see my passport. Is going to be Walletly, because Walletly delivers coupons and other things like this, which makes it a very good B2C version of how you could utilize A1. And on the B2B manner, I expect people to be able to create different types of menus for quick selections of different uses for different business meetings you might be going to, or to different different conferences that you're going to, or you could even by chance have, you know, a sales team of 10 or 20 different people, and instead of giving them access to muck around inside of the A1 software, you're then going to be able to allow them to make all the necessary edits that you feel, or the necessary amount of selection with edits inside of the chatbot, thus kind of giving you super admin access and them an admin access for their card. Now, to set this up, it is a really easy way of doing it. All you need to do is come into your ManyChat account, and you will need to create a growth tool with a URL, just like this. You will need to create the payload to be a certain user field. In this one, we have called it the A1 card ID. This is the identification of the A1 card. And over here inside of the A1 card, you need to put the ref URL just here. You need to have the custom field of the card ID, and you will need to have the custom field for the URL itself. And then after this, you can add different actions that can be accessed from the card itself. We are adding these into the ManyChat access as we build them on the A1 business access. So as you can see, we are moving ahead with how this is going to be able to work. There are one or two extra things that we still need to add to this. But I hope that you've effectively got the idea. So I hope I have some questions, because they're more, they're pretty important to me. So Chris, I would come back to you now and see what you have to, if you've got any questions about it, or if anybody else has got anything to ask.
Well, thank you, Rupert. This is way ahead of what you and I have discussed thus far. So you've made giant leaps forward. You and Kristen have really done a great job. I see the mini-chat integration probably growing into many different variations than just being able to change the card. How do you see it being used? How can this effectively be used if you were let's say a bar, since you're into the nightclub area? How do you see this being used as the card itself to produce a special offer or a coupon? How would that work exactly?
Well, I would give limited control to the consumers, and I refer to consumers as people that come to things like restaurants, bars, and shops, and anything essentially physical and retail. And one of the main aspects I think is going to be really powerful is when I explained the concept that you could give a physical card to somebody, and when they get that card, that will then assign them inside the chatbot, and then this card will match to them, and you're going to be able to create rules based off of actions of that consumer. Okay. Now, one of the best applications I think you can come into when it comes to the consumer and nightclub kind of industry, or retail, I should say, is affiliation. You could have the capability of a quick selection button potentially on the menu that is just there. Okay. And it could essentially just quickly turn their card into an affiliation link, which would be the same link for that for one of their friends to opt in to receive a digital version of the card, which is why we have the QR code, which can quickly pop up onto their screen via things like keywords or via the menu itself. So you could then reward that person for then getting their friends to opt in. And it's something, I mean, I take this, from all my experience in different areas of retail. You know what I mean? That I mean, clothes shops and bars and restaurants and gyms and just anything physical, essentially. That it's so much easier for a consumer to kind of grasp the concept of, I take this card, I rub it on the back of my friend's phone, and I'm going to get rewarded for doing that action, instead of having to forward, by clicking this button like this and forwarding it to a friend and hoping that they opt in. I mean, it's still a powerful way, but I mean, one of the most annoying things about messenger marketing is on the 15th of August, you're no longer going to be allowed to utilize the share button. And the only route around not having the share button is going to be the forward button, which is placed just here. And unfortunately, I've noticed that not every Facebook or Messenger user has got the capability of having the forward button on their phone. So I think it's going to be an amazing way of having a physical affiliation campaign for those kind of things. And the other thing is that it's so much more memorable to have, something physical again inside of your wallet. And when you're thinking about going to a restaurant, you do look into plenty of people I know look into their wallet, and they think to themselves, I've got a card here, a loyalty, a stamp card, a coupon card. And the great thing is that that card could equate to whatever you want it to. It could have coupons inside of it. It can have the loyalty inside of it. And these kind of templates for the kind of like the chatbot integration side of it, I will be creating and making a lot of work into making this a simple way for marketers, agencies, and business owners just to like plug in and play, put in a few key bits of information, and essentially off you go. And I feel like it's a great mixture of also what happens with Walletly. If anybody on this call has seen what Walletly has going on as a digital, as a kind of almost digital version of where A1 kind of has a physical version to compare them next to.
Okay, yeah. Other questions? I know Rick had one. Anyone else want to chime in here? A lot of area to cover. That's for sure.
This may be a stupid question. How do these cards operate? Like, is there a battery inside them?
No, they have a. I mean, if you go to the A1.club website, you'll see the little video, and basically in the video, there's a chip that's inside of them, and they don't run out. So essentially all they're doing is they have a preset, the battery is inside the phone, and this is looking for that chip, and that chip has always got a signal based inside of it, essentially. Make sense?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand how it doesn't run without a battery.
Well, it doesn't need a battery, because it's basically just a chip that has the capability. The phone is looking for that chip, and when it finds that chip, it will then find what is put inside of the chip, and you're capable of altering what's inside of that chip, essentially. Okay. If that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
So it lasts forever until the user decides to use it as a frisbee or snap it, essentially, which let's just hope they don't, because they are made of pretty durable plastic, just like your credit card. So they're not going to go anywhere anytime soon, unless the user decides to lose it, to which there are capabilities that we're building onto A1 for a replace easy functionality.
Okay. Bob, I know that we discussed some of this the other day. Do you want to throw any questions at Rupert concerning this and how it could combine with the Walletly program?
Yeah, I see all kinds of possibilities with NFC. As I sent you a PM yesterday, Chris. So my bank just, without prompting, sent me a new debit card yesterday, and I opened it up. I'm like, well, why am I getting a card? I didn't ask for one. It doesn't appear my account was hacked or anything like that. Well, the reason they sent it is because they've now included NFC technology in the card. So NFC, in simple terms, is is like an inductor that's embedded in a device. It can be embedded in a sticker. It can be embedded all kinds of things. So it doesn't require power to work.
No. I'm glad you got the concept straight away when you've used that kind of language. I'm trying to put it as best layman terms I possibly can.
Yeah, I'm a printed circuit board designer by trade for 35 years, so seen a couple of them. So it's got massive applications, and I'm looking forward to what Rupert's doing. Particularly, Rupert, do you have anything on you're doing a lot of analytics with the things you're working on. Do you have anything that you could share in that area?
Analytics in which direction? Do you mean analytics in use cases that are already put into place, or analytics in what happens with your account?
So on the Walletly app, you had a very nice looking dashboard arrangement, and to me, that's the biggest value proposition you're bringing forward in the way you're going to make analytics available to your client base.
Well, we have a dashboard with A1 which allows you to see what cards are being used, essentially, and what devices are interacting with them, and the date and time of when they are going to be done. As essentially the functionality grows with actions, and we have a few different use cases, I have taken notes down on what we're going to kind of create the dashboard to relay information on based on date and time. So some kind of examples would be being able to know how many times, well, you can see, actually, if I just share my screen back again, you can see that we've kind of started to make some of the baseline of it, but we can see how many times a certain card has been scanned, and we can see what type of devices are interacting with them. We know what tag has what date and time, and essentially what we need to do is just to build these into line charts and bar charts, and make quick selections of 7 days and 30 days. And then what I think is going to be a very useful kind of feature in how I can view potentially a marketer and a retailer looking at what they would want to do is certain folders of your tags, okay, will be essentially named towards, say, posters. So you'd then be able to then come back over to the dashboard and you would have a quick selection knowing that your posters in the last 7 days have got X amount of scans overall, although you might have 20 posters inside of a store, and that kind of gives you a concept of how well that campaign of all the posters in the shop are getting utilized with the NFC. So that's where we're heading with the dashboard, but the dashboards kind of come as one of the last things inside of this kind of tech, simply because we need to get the rest of it kind of working, like, you know, the actions and the stuff working before we can report it back to something that's easy to visualize.
I have a science fiction question for you, Rupert. The technology already exists, I'm sure, but is there any way this could also be a two-way system? What I'm saying, and I put it very simplistic, once the card is swiped on the back of the phone, it projects what you want them to see, but why couldn't it also project back to you their identity information in their phone?
So you're basically saying, you know, let's imagine me and you meet at a conference, and, you know, I'm giving you my information via the card, but I also want your information, is what you're saying.
Yes, correct.
Yeah. So this is something we've already got. It's a very easy kind of way of doing this. Now, the best way to do this is through a chatbot. Again, now you're not going to need the ManyChat integration, because all you're going to do, okay, for all of those here who understand chatbots, is that you'll put a ref URL behind the card, okay, as the action. So it's just a normal URL. And we've already played with this and done some amazing bug spotting on this, because Android, just for anybody who's watching what would like to know this, has an issue with directly sending a ref URL onto the domain bar. And when you do that, it will just stop dead. Okay, so we created a get started button which holds your ref URL, so that Android phones are now capable of receiving these ref URLs, which, you know, is a big thing, because we don't want to leave any type of devices out of the loop. So just go back to your question, because that was obviously just essentially saying we've thought about it and we've troubleshooted it and made sure that this stuff can work. Is that what you'll do is the consumer, you know, I want your information and I'm going to give you my information. You'd go into the chatbot, and the chatbot would have, it would ask you the question, hey Chris, before I give you my information, can you please give me your email and your phone number? And you'd then give me that. And then you would then have a button. Now the button, okay, would be one of the URLs that we give you here. So this URL would be inside of the button on the chatbot, but the action of this button would be my contact details. So when you click that, that would then open up my contact details, and inside of the chatbot, utilizing user inputs, and also, you know, Google Sheets would be a good way of putting this. I would then be able to receive your information, and because I know that you've then clicked on the button utilizing the chatbot, I would then be able to then have another tag, let's just say, and let's go with this one, and I could then open up a deep link, or we're opening up an action for an app opener to, let's say, LinkedIn. So then I could have you also as a connection on LinkedIn after, you know, 20 seconds after I know you've clicked on the action for adding contact details. So in this scenario, me passing over my business card to you, you've given me your email, your name, and your phone number. Okay, and that's gone into a Google Sheet, and now I've got that. Okay, And one thing that we're playing with, going into the future, because this is a definite use case that we have a lot of requests for, is that information, you can maybe collect your website as well if I wanted to, but that information, we're going to try and make it so there's a particular type of file or button that you could then instantaneously add that into the contacts of your mobile, into your mobile. So all of those contacts that you've got, that was my wallet, not my contacts. All of that information will then be shot off over into my contacts here, and I would then be very quickly and easily able to access that information. Okay. But then afterwards, you've then received my information, and as an added bonus, okay, I'm then going to have you go to my LinkedIn, and if I wanted to, I could pursue it further with other actions, essentially, inside of the chatbot.
Sounds like a tremendous tool for any type of conference. I think that would be a dynamite tool for a conference. Wow.
Well, one of the things I think about conferences, I mean, obviously you could go there with your business cards, okay? But I mean, just to kind of let you all in on a secret here, but if you do go to see that video of place your phone here on that poster, all I did is I stuck one of these cards behind the piece of paper on the poster. It's nothing special. So when you walk around with those lanyards around your neck, okay? Some people have a QR code, like certain conferences supply you with a QR code where you could maybe change what they do. You could just have the lanyard with the card in it, or sticker on it if you had stickers for something simple, and you just rub your lanyard onto the back of people's phones, and it would just opt people into your chatbot and so on and so forth, essentially.
Very simple. Very simple. Yes. Other questions? Have we opened up some other ideas to chat about, guys?
Everyone seems a little stumped.
No, I've got a question in the chat, but let me bring it live here. Do you have a branding or a print template that we can get so that when we send you logos in the print area, we are within your framework of the card?
So that is something, I've got it on the roadmap that I think is going to be done on 14 days, that you'll have something kind of like a Canva, effectively, where you could upload your logos and place text onto it, and essentially create, for certain things that you will have printing necessities towards what space effectively is going to take up. So things like cards, and posters and all this kind of stuff will make it so that you can edit and create what you want on the website, and then we'll receive that and we'll get that over to you.
Perfect. Now, last question. On the physical cards, is there a particular spot or location that a hole can be punched in it for lanyard use without destroying the card?
So that's a fun one. We are going to produce cards like that, for starters, so it can save you a bit of time. But if you are going to want to do a bit of DIY yourself, I'm not going to say don't do it, because people do just do things sometimes without asking. But the easiest thing to do, very easy, is to get your torch, all right, place it onto the back of the card, and if you go across here, you'll be able to find in one of the corners the chip of the card, and you'll also be able to see the protective wiring that goes around the edge of it. Whatever you do, do not touch the protective wiring or the chip.
Got it.
Long story short. So you can see it inside of there. Obviously, you won't be able to see it on my phone right now or what I'm showing you, but it's just there.
Yes.
Okay?
So in other words, the actual device is very close to your symbol.
Yeah, sometimes it can, sometimes it goes onto the other side.
Okay.
I can't always promise you what side it's going to be on.
I got you. Thank you.
Rupert, tell us just in a few minutes here before we end, unless there are other questions. Tell us your growth concepts for this and other things that are coming down the road. That I want people to watch for your work and watch for your new products, as well as just the A1 card. What else do you have in the pipeline?
Nothing in the sense of like, what do I have else going on? I wouldn't say anything else that's worthwhile talking about, essentially, apart from A1 and Walletly. They're the two things that are predominant in my mind of what we are creating over here amongst my team members. And you know, my background is all retail. You know, like, I used to have a fair few shops myself, and we supply a lot of shops amongst my family business. And my dad used to have about 40 shops across the country, and so on and so forth as well. Rick, I can see you playing there with the light. Trying to find that chip, thinking where you're going to do that hole. I was just thinking, what's he doing there? Bloody hell. No, so one of the things I really think may be worthwhile some of you guys taking on board here is that with the growth of where A1, just A1 in particular is going, is that you're going to be able to acquire your own card printer or your own sticker printer. And you are going to be able to purchase those items that you want to print onto for your clients at a very, very cheap price is all I can really essentially go into. We're talking some of them pennies, okay? And based on the orders of your clients, if you're dealing with, you know, an agency kind of model where you're going to deal with restaurants and other kind of businesses in that sense, you're going to be able to utilize A1 not only by ordering your items from, you know, me if you want to, but you can also have your own machine to create your own items yourself and to make profit on the physical items as well, and then be able to also have the consistency out of the digital end of the software for continuity for managing your clients as well. So I think, you know, that's a really powerful area for A1 to go in the sense of scale, because it's a great way of almost providing a business for somebody to start creating. That, you know, that's where the main line of direction that we're going with A1 is allowing you guys to have your own printers at one point to be able to do whatever you like. And, you know, one of the things is you don't want to be waiting logistically on me all the time to be able to knock out 100 cards, ship them somewhere across the world. Although, you know, we might have printers available in New York and LA and the United Kingdom and Turkey and Australia and India, you know, it still doesn't mean that you don't want to, as a business yourself, to be able to profit from creating your own products.
Which is a tremendously unique, in some ways, business model. But I know that you have thought it through carefully with your retail background and experience. I think you once told me that if you think you can be all things to all people in the retail business or even the digital business, you're probably kidding yourself.
It's yeah, I think when you were asking me about one of your, you know, one of the potential orders that you were talking about for some of your clients and things, that, you know, for the business side of things for A1, like price modules, I haven't really spoken about that. If anyone would like to understand this, is that you will have inactive and active cards. If they're active, you can have 1 to 500 cards, and those 1 to 500 cards will cost you $20. Okay, and those 1 to 500 cards will only cost you $20 a month to keep active and allow them to have consumers to opt into them. On the A1 Club model, you purchase a card from me and I will send it to you. The A1 Club card can't be replicated from any other business. That's our own unique business in itself from what the A1 is. But the A1 business is kind of like a reseller's platform for you to be able to allow your business owners or clients to utilize it, or for them to utilize it in connection with you managing it, or however you want to essentially create your deals with them. But the one thing is that I'm very, very happy to report back on what it was that you said. And this is something that you seemed happy about, was that, you need to, with the business model, be able to purchase 100 cards as a minimum. And those 100 cards will be a lot cheaper than obviously purchasing from the A1 Club. So the A1 Club, you could purchase one plastic card from me for $9. But if you're going to buy 100 cards from me, they'll only be $1.50, $1.50. Okay. Now $1.50 for 100, you're talking about $150. But then you're going to have $20 a month to be able to have those 100 cards active. But if you wanted to, you could get yourself another 400 cards and have all 400 cards active, and the price for keeping them active wouldn't go up until you went to your 501 card. Okay. And the thing is, like, I understand, because I used to be a small shop owner retailer. I mean, genuinely, the size of my living room and kitchen, it was the size of my shop, and it was the first shop I had. And I sometimes, it's like, I know with people in China, they'll say to me, yeah, like, you've got to buy 1,000 green, 1,000 red, and 1,000 blue. And I'm like, no, I just want 1,000 units to test it, and I want 200 red, 200 green, and 200 blue, and 200, 200, 200, 200. And me understanding, where the small to medium-sized businesses will start off with, I am more than happy on taking in 100 card orders. And if you want to have 50 of them being one print and 50 of them being another print, it doesn't make any odds or ends to me. So, we're more than happy to play ball, is essentially what I'm trying to say, with small to medium size, without forcing your business or your self to go down a route that's not preferable for you.
Very, very insightful. But as we wrap up here, I know that some might be wondering. Of course, we're emphasizing the chambers of commerce in our group all the time, and might be very interested in saying, okay, why are we focusing on a card like this? Well, there are many, many uses within a chamber of commerce for this technology, not only within the chamber, but for the members outside. But within the chamber, this card has many uses and can be very successfully used. Our user examples, in fact, we do have cards from Rupert already. They've been programmed and will be actually being tested next week. So we're following his lead right now to put it into action. All right. Any other questions, guys?
Yes, I think there's one or two.
Rupert, I've got one small question for you. You were mentioning that not all versions of iPhones, for lack of better, are working with these yet. So what versions will work?
So this is something...
Did I understand correctly?
Yeah, pretty much. And in another sense, it's like yes and no, I'll say to that. So yes, iPhones will not be able to do the wireless, okay? But the great thing is about iPhones is that they have an inbuilt QR code reader inside of the camera, and it's really quick. Because I showed you that a fair few times, because it's really fast to be able to do it. You open the camera, you put it in front, bang, they go straight in. The nice thing to also know is that coming in the future is that these iPhones already have the capability of receiving the wireless signal from the card, okay? It's just not been enabled in the software of the phone itself, because every time that you have a bank card in your wallet and you go to a card terminal and you utilize your wallet in your phone to pay for the item, it's the exact same thing that's happening, apart from your phone is sending the signal instead of receiving the signal from our plastic card. Okay. Now the iPhone XR, XS, and SX Max all have the capability to receive the signal as well from our plastic cards. So this tells us that going into the future, all of the iPhones will have that capability. Now the brilliant part of where I like to come back to this is that there's a real big disruptive mess inside of this physical world of how people can opt into digital campaigns. And that is based on the fact that Androids and iPhones love to really just mess each other up. I was going to use another word then, but they really love to mess each other up, okay? And that is because on the Android devices, natively on their camera, they don't scan QR codes without an extra app. Now, some of them are starting to have that inside of there, but I am still finding a lot of people with even the newest Android type devices that still aren't finding it an easy process to do this. And the fact that I'd say a good 99% of the phones that you will find out there will have the NFC receiving capability on the iPhones, on the Androids. It just makes it so much more natural for the consumers to be able to opt in, because they don't have to open up their camera. They just open up to their home screen and they're on. In the iPhone use case of the X and the XR and the XS Max that can receive it, you don't even have to open up your menu. It can do it from the lock screen, which is even more amazing. Okay, so they haven't got to open up their phone, unlike the Android. But unfortunately, for the iPhones are underneath of the X model, like my iPhone 7 that I have here, you will just have to scan the QR code like you normally should have been doing for the last God knows how many years.
Right.
So it is something that going into the future, it will become a lot more socially acceptable, I would like to say. And I think the easiest way to also implement this onto consumers is to have that kind of poster that you might have seen on my personal Facebook account, where I've had a video. It said in the title, "Nothing to see here." It's me taking the mic. And it had a poster of me rubbing my phone onto a phone itself that was printed on the poster saying, "Place your phone here." And then above it was a call to action of get $1 discount or £1 discount in my use case. So does that answer the question? Because that's one bit of friction point that some people are sometimes obviously having to understand the different types of phones that can and can't do certain things.
Just wanted to clarify. Thank you so much.
That's all right.
You had mentioned that even with the iPhone 7, that there's possibility of Apple's upgrade of the iOS may enable that feature?
Yes. Essentially, they never say yes or no to what they're going to do. But, you know, I read some of the blogs and the hints of what's coming, and it just seems as if, like, well, if they're going to be doing it inside of the newer models, in some of the updates, they're hinting that some of the features are in their newer models will be capable inside of their younger models. So it's something it's literally one of those things that I think that the only reason they haven't put it on is because of the crap battery use case excuse, where they're kind of going, if we turn the NFC receiver inside on the phone, then the battery might run out quicker on the consumer, essentially.
Thank you.
Okay.
As far as chatbots go, does it only work with ManyChat, or can you use a different chatbot?
We're exclusively going with ManyChat for the foreseeable future, but I have had discussions about one or two other platforms as well. It does come down to the fact of whether or not they will give us an API to their platform. So not every chatbot platform gives us an API, but ManyChat is more widely used and simpler for people to utilize, and also it makes it very easy for myself to share templates where I'm not joking. One of my main things is making it very plug in place, simple, off you go, effectively. And I will be giving, you know, a good 10 to 30 different use case templates out there, so that you should be spending hopefully 10 minutes onboarding onto this. And ManyChat does come with an amazing quick responsive way of uploading templates. So is there a platform that you had in mind, Ray?
Well, I'm not sure exactly when it was, but I purchased a software called ChatterPal. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, the big thing about it is it has the chat bot itself, but it also has, you can create avatars that coincide with the chat bot itself, and they can be the avatar can have you can write a script for it, and it's, you know, like the machine voice kind of thing. but they're fairly, the voices are fairly decent. But I was just wondering if something like that could be used with it because of the avatar that connects to the chatbot itself.
I can't say anything really apart from I'd have to look into it more. Okay, so that's going a little bit further into it, but I do. My gut says to stay with ManyChat based on this. It was quite funny. You know, I'm moving offices, right? I was down at the office the other night, and there's only one other, like, Bath is a small place, so only 100,000 people live here. And I got into a conversation with the only one other guy who lives in my city who understands chatbots in depth and software development. And he just happened to see me the other side of the street, and he came over and had a good hour and a half just stood on the street, just chin wagging onto each other about chatbot platforms and where and why and who and how and all this kind of stuff. And essentially at the end of the day, we both said to each other, ManyChat has recently had $18 million put into them. They have over 100 staff, and they have more features than anyone else. And, you know, there are some people out there with certain platforms that have certain unique features, which are pretty good. But what's something that I kind of passed on to this guy called David was that was essentially my mindset when it comes to some retail kind of things and the wholesale. So when we set up our wholesale side of things, we only sold leather bags because I used to design leather bags. And sooner or later, we started venturing into scarves and other products that would complement the other products. And essentially, you could utilize us as one wholesaler, and we could cover 80% of your entire stock inventory that you'll need for your shop. And I feel that that's a similarity towards ManyChat, that 8 out of 10 things that you're going to need to do for a chatbot will be inside of ManyChat, but 1 or 2 bits you might need a specialist kind of piece of kit that you can potentially get from somewhere else. So I would much rather go for the volume and coverage of nearly everything, which is in this analogy, as I was kind of referring to it, as ManyChat.
I've got one final question. On your optional choices, you have something called link tree. Is that equivalent to our the link tree that we have from Everlinks?
Yeah, it's a link tree, so you can place different links, and you can have different links inside there to send people different places. With Everlinks, I have had a little discussion with maybe having some sort of little integration with them. I can't really confirm anything. Essentially, we haven't got far into that, but it was a conversation I had with them, and you know, I like Drew and David myself. But at the same time, you know, you could create an Everlink. You should have Everlinks implemented into A1 like this, because it's just a URL at the end of the day. It's just so that we will have a more basic version of a link tree builder inside of A1. Not because it's not a huge part of A1, I'd have to say, in the sense of like what we do isn't a link tree builder. A1 is what it is.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right, folks, we've hit the hour mark, and I know that we have taken a lot of valuable time from Rupert and Christian as well. So I want to tell you how much we all appreciate it, Rupert. You're taking the time on a very, very busy week. I have a final request, though. When you get into your ManyChat development and your other use cases, get on that convention idea quickly, because I'd love to sell those to convention people that run conventions and just put them right on their lanyards right there.
We do have some convention owners already in touch with us at the moment. Ones I can't really mention, but I mean their audience size for the convention range from 2,000 to 10,000 members. So it is something that is going to be very, very interesting to see when we get it into those kind of interactions, essentially, because that one card or that one pass could potentially.
Have we lost Rupert?
Door, or it could be, you know, also altered as something to pass communication between the different members at the conference. It could do a whole varied amount of different things. And it also, you know, for the convention owner itself, it could relay information back about what the attendees were doing at the convention. And at the same time, if you give them a card from the convention owner, it gives them a bit of swag to go home with. And if you give them the capability of altering after the convention what the card can do via the convention owner's chatbot, then it's going to create a very decent long-term communication channel between the convention owner and the attendees. So I really do like where that's kind of going to go, but I can't tell you who we're talking to, but there's some very interesting names on the board, to be honest.
I'm sure there are, because it has a tremendous amount of value. I'll look forward to learning more if you're willing to share. All right. And
oh yeah, all the time.
I appreciate your working with my team as well, our team here. And we're moving forward on it rapidly. Look forward to all the results from it. So, Rupert, do you have any final thing you want to say before I close it out for this afternoon?
Not really. Good luck to everybody. Hope you're all doing well.
Okay. All right. Well, as you, all of you, there's go to the A1 Club Card website. Rupert also has rupertsamuel.com, which has some other things on there you might want to look at. But check those sites out. I think they've been put in the chat box if you haven't seen them already. So for now, I wish everybody a good afternoon on Wednesday, and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you, Rupert. Beautiful job. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Thank you very much.